The summer of 1987 turned out to be hot. Sophie had her vacation coming in 2 days, yet she didn't have any idea where to escape from the city for her rightfully earned 4 weeks. There's not enough money to go to the seaside, and all the tickets are probably sold out. I wish I could go somewhere there's a river, she dreamed while finishing her work. At that moment, her friend Isabella approached her. Sophie, aren't you going somewhere, are you? Sophie became suspicious. Oh, there should be a reason why Isabella asks her this. Come on, just tell me what it is you want from me, Sophie asked impatiently. My aunt comes here for 2 weeks to get her treatment. Actually, she isn't a bad person if you don't spend too much time with her. It's impossible to be around her all the time. She loves to take care of people and baby them so much that she will literally tuck you in. And Charlie and I just got married. We prefer when it's just 2 of us. Can we crash at your place? By the way, if you want, you can spend your vacation in her village. There's a forest and some kind of small stream there. You'll have a good rest while she stays here. Sophie reflected on it. Why not stay in the village and take a walk in the woods? It'll be the best rest from the city noises. And she agreed. Aunt Alfie, Isabella's aunt, has always touted her village very much, and even smiled slyly, as if hinting that it was possible to suddenly meet your true love there. Yeah, in the village. Living in the city for 25 years, she hasn't found it so far, but her prince definitely is waiting for her in the village. On Sunday, she threw a packed bag over her shoulder, put a piece of paper with the address, Petrovskoye Village, 12 Bazarnaya Street, in her jean pocket, and hit the road. Sophie went to the district center by train, and then she had to buy a bus ticket. She was in a wonderful mood. She even started humming a song to herself. When she came to the ticket window at the bus terminal, the woman in front of her was buying a ticket for the bus that was about to depart to the village of Petrovskoye. Sophie hurried to buy a ticket too, and was insanely happy to catch the bus. It wasn't a long ride, just half an hour. And Aunt Alfie was warning me that it would take a long time to come here. Probably she didn't want me to stay in her house after all. But it's too late now. I'm going to breathe fresh forest air. Bazarnaya Street was almost in the center. Sophie found house number 12 quickly. On the door, as Aunt Alfie had said, there was a big padlock. The moment the girl wanted to insert the key given to her by the house owner, the padlock opened. It seemed that it was not closed. What if thieves arrived instead of me? Sophie shrugged and entered the house. Inside, there were 2 very cozy small rooms. Skillfully made white punchwork linens were covering the old TV and the chest of drawers. Colorful geraniums were blooming on the windowsills, and in the bedroom, there was an old-fashioned iron bed with a stack of pillows of various sizes. Well done, Aunt Alfie. It's so nice and cozy here, as if I've always lived here myself, but left for a while, Sophie thought as she was sitting on a carved chair at the table. Then she went out to the front yard, touched the blooming daisies, pressed her cheek against the trunk of a tall old birch, and again, felt as if she had returned home from a long, long trip. The goosebumps that ran down her back made her shrug her shoulders, and Sophie returned to the house. She unpacked, made the tea she had brought with her, and when she was about to pour it into the householder's old-fashioned mug, a young, pleasant-looking man entered the house. When he saw Sophie sitting at the table, he stopped on the threshold with his mouth open. At first, Sophie was scared of the stranger, but then realized that he was not only astonished, but also scared as if he had seen a ghost. Aunt Alfie allowed me to stay here. I'm not breaking any law. Who are you? She asked the young man who was still standing there with his mouth open. I'm Dylan, a neighbor, the guest finally said with difficulty. What Aunt Alfie are you talking about? An old lady named Mia lives here. She is in the hospital now. She had a heart attack a week ago, so I had to call an ambulance. She asked me to water the flowers. This is why I came here. So I see, they have found you after all. What do you mean found me? This time, Sophie was surprised. I've never been lost. And why do you say that Mia lives here? Aunt Alfie sent me here. Sophie took a piece of paper with the address and showed it to the man. He read it, silently pointed at the name of the village, and kept looking at Sophie with the same astonishment. Hey, what's wrong? Sophie exclaimed. And why are you looking at me like that? This village is called Petrovskoye, and you had to go to Petrovskoye, he muttered, and taking Sophie by the hand, led her into the bedroom. Sophie was so confused by what she'd heard, so she obediently followed Dylan. In the bedroom, he showed her an old photograph hanging on the wall in which Sophie saw herself. A young girl looking very much like her. "Who is this?" she asked, stunned. "This is Saren, the daughter of Mia. Are you sure you're not related?" "I have no family. I grew up in the orphanage. And what happened to her?" "Mia told me that Saren went to the city to work. She didn't want to live in the village. She was renting a room in a shared apartment and wasn't telling her mother anything about her life. Until one day, when she called and said that she was expecting a baby. She wasn't married and told her mother not to worry because she could handle everything herself since it was her fault. And she hung up. Mia cries all the time when she thinks of that conversation and says she would never criticize her daughter. She would accept this baby. But Saren was very proud. She was ashamed to come back to the city. That conversation was their last. Saren went missing. Mia began to look for her and found out that her daughter died in an accident. There's no information about the child." "Yes, at the orphanage, I was told that my mother had an accident and they couldn't save her. But I survived. She had no documents with her and no relatives were found, so I was sent to an orphanage." Sophie's heart stopped. Is that the moment she has been waiting for her entire life? Has she finally found her family? "You are beautiful, just like your mother." Dylan smiled. "You know what? I'm going to visit Mia now and tell her she has a special guest. We need to prepare her for this meeting so her heart won't fail again. Meanwhile, make yourself at home. Although, you are already home." And with glimmers of hope in his eyes, he added, "You're staying here, aren't you?" "Dylan," Sophie laughed. "Don't look at me like that or your wife will get jealous." "Oh, I'm not married. Please, don't laugh, but I feel like I've also been waiting for you. Shall I go now?" "Oh, one moment. I want you to give this chocolate to my grandma." Sophie's voice was shaking at the last word. 1 hour later, Sophie heard the wicket gate bang and saw Dylan and an elderly woman in a white headscarf. Mia was eager to enter the house, assuring Dylan that she had already recovered and she couldn't make her guest get bored. When she entered the room and saw Sophie, she softly grasped and covered her trembling lips with her hand. Dylan was saying something, soothing her, but she didn't listen. She immediately realized who this guest was. With her eyes full of tears, Mia kept looking at Sophie until she whispered, "Dear Lord, thank you for letting me live to see this day, for hearing my prayers. Come here, my dear." Sophie came closer and her grandmother hugged her tightly. It wasn't a hug of an old woman. "I knew that you would be found. I always believed." That's how, by chance, or maybe not, Sophie found her home and prudently left by her self-confident mother. Sophie has actually moved to this village and didn't regret her decision at all. And Dylan turned out to be a wonderful husband.